Expectations make you look needy before you talk. You order coffee and the barista calls the wrong name. You correct them fast with a tight smile and you watch their posture change. The observable behavior is correction delivered as entitlement, meaning the fix is demanded like it was owed. The effect is status loss because entitlement signals dependence on compliance and dependence reads as lower rank in fast social exchanges. This shows up when your voice speeds up and your face asks for agreement. You can recognize it when someone corrects small errors like a test, forcing staff to manage their mood rather than just solve the issue. Neediness hides inside standards. A colleague misses a deadline and walks into your office. You open with what should have happened instead of what is now required. The observable behavior is expectation framing, where your first move is to reference a broken standard. The effect is that you hand them leverage because you reveal what you were counting on, and now they know exactly where your dependence sits. In practice, this means your first sentence becomes a complaint. You can recognize it when someone starts with "you should have," and the other person immediately shifts into excuses and bargaining because the conversation has become emotional debt. You just showed your weak point. You are negotiating a price and you say you were expecting something better. The other person pauses, then offers a smaller concession than you imagined. The observable behavior is expectation signaling, where you state a hoped for outcome as if it should anchor the deal. The effect is reduced status because hope is not leverage, and announcing it tells the other person you are invested enough to react, which invites them to control the tempo. This is done by leading with disappointment instead of terms. You can recognize it when someone says "I expected," and the counterpart calmly withholds, knowing the disappointed person is already emotionally committed. Hope is not negotiating power. You are in a group discussion and someone interrupts you. You say "excuse me" and then repeat your sentence louder. The observable behavior is insistence on turn-taking, where you push for the social rule to be honored. The effect is status loss, because high-status people do not fight for the floor, they take it or they redirect the frame, and insisting reveals you need permission to be heard. This shows up when you ask for your turn back. You can recognize it when someone keeps appealing to fairness and the interrupter keeps moving, because the appeal itself confirms the interrupter has control of the pace. Fairness is a low-status bid. A friend cancels plans at the last minute. You respond with "I cleared my evening for this." The observable behavior is sacrifice disclosure, where you reveal what you gave up as evidence. The effect is lowered status because you just showed you rearranged your life around their decision, and that tells them you are easier to move than they are. In practice, this means you justify your disappointment with your cost. You can recognize it when someone lists what they did to make a meeting happen, and the canceller feels less respect, not more, because it reads like emotional billing. Cost does not create authority. You are dealing with customer support and the agent repeats a script. You say "I shouldn't have to explain this again." The observable behavior is indignation display, where you project that the situation is beneath you. The effect is reduced status because indignation communicates loss of control, and the person with the script can now manage you by slowing down, escalating, or offering tiny appeasements. This is done by attaching ego to the process. You can recognize it when someone starts policing how they should be treated and the agent becomes colder because the conversation is no longer about solutions. It is about managing entitlement. Anger is information about control. You give a clear instruction to a junior and they do it differently. You respond with "that's not what I asked for." The observable behavior is expectation policing, where you focus on deviation rather than outcome. The effect is status loss, because policing signals you are invested in being obeyed, and the more you need obedience, the more you reveal insecurity about your authority. This shows up when your feedback is mainly about compliance. You can recognize it when a manager obsessively points out that instructions were not followed, and staff begin hiding decisions, because the manager's ego has become the real project. Control is expensive to maintain. You walk into a restaurant and your table is not ready. You say "we booked" with emphasis and you stand too close to the host desk. The observable behavior is proximity pressure, where you use physical closeness to force priority. The effect is lowered status because pressure is what people use when they cannot command cooperation, and staff respond by protecting their autonomy, not rewarding yours. In practice, this means you hover, watch, and push. You can recognize it when someone stands over a worker, arms tight, eyes locked, and the worker slows down because they are now controlling the only thing they can: access. Hovering signals you can be managed. You are on a call and you expect an apology. You keep pausing after the other person speaks, waiting for the words to arrive. The observable behavior is apology fishing, where your silence is designed to pull submission. The effect is status loss because it exposes your need for validation, and once that need is visible, the other person can deny it and hold power by refusing the emotional payment. This is done by creating gaps that demand a response. You can recognize it when someone engineers silence after a mistake and watches your face, and you feel the pressure to repair even when you did nothing wrong. Silence can beg, not dominate. You confront someone about respect and say, "I expect better from you." They nod, agree, and change nothing the next day. The observable behavior is verbalizing standards as a substitute for leverage, where you declare expectations and hope the declaration does the work. The effect is status collapse because you have now shown you cannot enforce, only announce, and announcements without consequences teach people they can tolerate your displeasure. This shows up when your boundary is mainly a speech. You can recognize it when someone makes strong statements, gets short compliance in the moment, then gets ignored later because the other person learned the cost is emotional noise, not real loss. Words without cost become background noise.